Joseph Busha from Busha Investments joins us now to unpack those market movements. Mr. Busha, I mentioned in my markets intro that yesterday was a solid start to the week for the JSE. Resources doing really well. Today it seems as though the opposite would be true. The JSE closing quite significantly in the red. Resources getting a huge sell-off today, along with some other stocks. I mean, your thoughts on today's JSE performance?
It is a massive threat, I think, to our economy. You are aware that the resource sector or mining sector has been the mainstay, I think, in terms of our fiscals contributing significantly with bumper profits last year. But certainly today the market down about 6% overall. Glencore, Anglo-American ore down about 8%. So the top 20 resources down 6%. Metals and mining, industrial metals and mining down about 7.4%, as you showed earlier on in the indicators. This really just shows the pressures I think we are facing, coupled with the Russian-Ukraine issue. But I think we have our own challenges back home here, which was also in your intro, in terms of the energy sector. So any bottlenecks in terms of electricity within the mining and manufacturing sector certainly does put pressure on those sectors in terms of profitability. Because remember, if you look in terms of platinum prices down below 1,000, about $900. You're looking at gold price down 1,000 to 1,772. So the profitability of those companies, because it's quite a linear multiplication in terms of what production is times the price, is going to put pressures on our fiscus, where we got most of our windfall taxes last year.
No, absolutely, Mr. Busha, and I mean, it's really reflective in today's market movements. Before we get into movements on the local unit, I want us to talk about the price of Brent crude. Now, I don't know if my app is showing me the wrong information here, Mr. Busha, but it's showing me that Brent crude is currently 103 or thereabouts US dollars a barrel. Is that correct? Has it dropped or declined that much over the last day or so?
Certainly, it's around $104, $103 per barrel, and I think Citibank also released a note that it might actually come down to about $65 per barrel by the end of the year. And this is really due to recession fears and that there might be slowdown in global economies given where inflation is. But I think the volatility really is just too much to be able to, kind of hold on to those expectations or focus that the Brent crude oil, it might come down. So that's reflected also by Sasol shares. That's down about 6.6% today.
No, I mean, if that's the forecast that most people are looking at for the end of the year, it's quite encouraging for those of us who are paying exorbitant fuel prices at the moment. Let's talk about the local unit. I'm sure it also had an impact on the decline in the financial stocks that we saw today. Quite a significant one, I think about 3% to end off the day. Your thoughts on the local unit and perhaps the medium-term trajectory, given now that we've seen the end of the Eskom strike, there's been a resolution, and hopefully we're going to see some more capacity come on board.
So it's a 1658, 1657 to the greenback. You're looking at a little bit of strength against the euro, but certainly weakened about 1%, 1.1% against the dollar. This is really just because of the strength in the dollar, and I guess also our own issues. If you look at some of the emerging markets, where we normally used to be pegged, the Turkish lira, the peso, all those have been severely weakened, down quite significantly. So those things, I think, really just affecting us. But I think it's, as I said earlier on, our own domestic issues, which is really to do with the power. You saw confidence levels down to about 1.7 from 2%. But also there's expectations that interest rates might actually rise by 50 basis points or 0.5%, up to about 75 basis points by the year end. What that means is that interest rates are going to go up, inflation goes up, and certainly, banks might start providing more for bad debts as people start paying more, given the pressures we're seeing in terms of consumer. With petrol, you mentioned, is going to 26.74 cents. Beginning tomorrow. So those are massive increases that will put pressures on consumers and households.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Mr. Joseph Busha, joining us from J.M. Busha Investments. They're giving us a wrap of the markets day and really just the pressures that are going to persist on consumers given those continued increases across various products that we all use. So that's all your business news for now. Sally, I'll be back in the next bulletin. Interestingly, the CCMA has been siding with employers who choose to retrench workers who are not vaccinated. In a recent case, it's taken the opposite view, saying that it was unfair and unconstitutional for an employer to retrench a non-vaccinated employee. So we're going to be unpacking the contradictions there. Yeah,
because you have to ask, you know, when maybe it's an issue of timing, because there was a time when we were in a national emergency where people were dying in great numbers. But now if you try to push that, I wonder if timing has anything to do with that. I look forward to that one. Really interesting.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.